Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Shaurya Vivek Defense Academy's English class. Okay, we have already completed 3 classes, I believe, and today we are going to look at verbs. All right. So before that, let me allow some time for the students to join. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. All right. Without any further delay, let's jump into the session. Verbs. Just a quick summary. All right. Summary of the previous classes, what we have learned. Gurpreet, good afternoon, man. Good afternoon. Welcome to the session. All right. So before understanding verbs, we have to summarize or we have to recall whatever we have learned in the previous classes, right? So again, let me start with noun, pronoun, adjectives. All right. What is my noun? Naming words, right? And these express for people, place, things, or ideas or concepts, right? And what about pronouns? Replacement of nouns. All right. And what are adjectives? Adjectives will modify only my nouns and pronouns. All right. So keeping this in my mind, keeping this in your mind, we have to understand what are verbs today. And also, I believe we have completed adverbs, right? What are adverbs? Adverbs are nothing but those words which will be modifying my verbs, adjectives, adverbs themselves, and entire sentences. All right. So this is a quick recall or recap about what we have learned in the previous class, right? Angel Chaudhary, good afternoon. Simran, good afternoon. Chahat, good afternoon. Jai Hind all. So yeah, now we have a clear idea what these nouns are, right? Anything which we are naming, we call it as noun. For example, people, and then places, things, ideas, or concepts, right? And what are my pronouns? Pronouns are nothing but the replacement of my nouns, all right? And then adjectives. What are adjectives? Adjectives are those words which will add a detail or modify or specify nouns and then pronouns. What about adverbs? Adverbs are those words that which will be modifying my entire sentences, verbs, adverbs themselves, and adjectives, right? And today we'll be looking at verbs. What are verbs? Verbs matlab kya hota hai? And how to understand that, right? Verbs are nothing but verbs are those words. See, follow. Verbs are those words which will be talking about an action or state of being. All right. We all know kriya, actions matlab kriya, right? What is an action? For example, play, jump, eat, sleep, study, cook, teach, write, paint, fall, close, start, open. What are these? These are all my actions, right? Sleep, write, cook, teach. All these are my actions. So whenever there is a word which is indicating an action, I can call it as my verb. All right. And what is a state of being? We have seen actions: playing, eating, jumping, opening, starting. All these are my actions. Okay. So ye actions ko bolte hum verbs. All right. And what is the state of being? All right, sir. One is my action, which is clear. But what is this state of being? Under actions, I can write play, right? But the state of being is not an action, all right? For example, feel, okay? Feel, I feel happy, all right? Or I feel sad. And then feel is a state of being, all right? Appear or seems. All these are my verbs, all right? For example, understanding. Understanding is a process, okay? But then it is not an action. While understanding, do you do any action? No, right? So all these words which are called as state of being, okay? Understanding, knowing, learning, feeling, appearing, seeming to be, all right? All these are my state of being, okay? With this being said, we will jump into the session so that you'll have a clarity. Anu, Rohil, Jai Hind, Jai Hind, Shika, good afternoon. All right, just give me a second. Yeah. So let us look at the table of content today. Okay, what we'll be dealing here. Introduction. I'll be making you understand what are verbs. ये verbs मतलब क्या होता है and कैसे how to identify them. All right, and then there are types of words. All right, intransitive verb, transitive verbs, stative verbs, action verbs, linking or copular verbs. We have different kinds of verbs. All right, so we'll be talking about the verbs types as well. We'll be analyzing each and every verb with an example. All right, for example, one type of the verb is transitive verb. Okay, I'll be teaching you what are these transitive verbs, how to identify them, and what are the examples of them. All right, and finally a quick recap of this session. All right, so with that being said, we'll jump into the first slide. Yeah, introduction. What are verbs? Verbs are action words. They tell us what someone or something is doing. For example, if I'm telling Ram is crying or Ram is smiling. What are these? Crying or smiling is an action, kriya, right? Crying or smiling is an action. So I can easily understand that Ram is my noun, but what is he doing? He is crying. So I can easily call this crying as my verb, as well smiling also as my verb. All right. Any action performed by someone or something is called as your verb. All right. Some verb describe feelings. All right. Some verbs describe feeling. Not all verbs are about action. Try to understand this point. Okay. Some verbs like feel, like, am describe how someone feels or exists. For example, imagine there are two sentences, all right? One, Sheila is playing. Playing is an action. Since it is an action, I can call it as my verb, all right? Whereas see here, I is my pronoun. First person singular pronoun. Her is also pronoun. Third person singular pronoun. In pronouns class, we have seen how to identify pronouns and what are the types and classifications of pronoun. Here, I hate her. Here, hate is not an action. Okay. If I'm telling you, I hate you, does it mean that is there any action? No. It is a state of being or feeling. All right. So some verbs describe feelings. Not all verbs are about action. All right. I hate you. I love you. All these are my state of being. Okay. Not actions. So for the words which is having an action and state of being, I can directly call it as my verb. That's it. Very simple. I hope you're clear. In case if you have any doubt in understanding what are verbs, please let me know. All right. So let us move to the second part. A quick exercise. All right. First example. She ran to the store. All right. Try to identify the action here in this first sentence. She ran to the store. ये sentence में क्रिया action कहाँ है? Ran is an action. What is the base form of this word? Running. What is the action here? She is running or to run. Action. All right. Second one. She ate the cake. Try to identify the action here. Students. Gurpreet, Chahat, Simran, Angel, Chaudhary, Annu, Shika. Try to identify the action here in the second statement. She, pronoun, cake, noun, ate is an action. They have finished their work. They have finished their work. Where is the action here? Finish is my action. All right. So in case if you ask me, sir, what is this have? I will tell even this have is called as verb. But this is a helping verb. Okay. There are two types of verbs. Main verbs and helping verbs. We'll be discussing about it in later period of the section. But then now try to understand just what are actions here. All right. Ate is an action. Ran is an action. Finished is an action. She can swim well. Okay. Try to identify here. She can swim well. Swimming is an action. He turned off or to turn on. All right. Hugged. They hugged each other. All these are my actions. And for these actions, I can directly call them as my verbs. All right. So simple. Yeah. Simran, ate, finished. Correct, Simran. Gurpreet. Correct, man. You're right. Let us move to the next slide. What are the classification of verbs? Okay, we have two primary classification. One we call it as main verbs and another one we call it as auxiliary verbs. Now let us try to understand what are these main verbs and auxiliary verbs. All right. Take this example. I will talk to you later. All right. I will talk to you later. Now try to identify the action here. Where is the action? Talk is my action. Okay. This will is called as my helping verb. To be very precise, we can call it as modals. Okay. Will is a modal. Okay. Now don't get confused. See. I will talk to you later. Here, talking is the action. So, I can call this as my core action or my main verb because this is my main verb. This will is called as my helping verb. All right. Under auxiliary verbs, we have modals and other things and all. But this will is a helping verb. Okay. I have a slide teaching you or making you clarify what are main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Now try to just understand it, okay? So, under main verbs, we have transitive verb, intransitive, regular and irregular verbs, okay? But to be very honest, transitive and intransitive verbs are really important for clearing any competitive exam. Why? Under verbs, we have main verbs and then auxiliary verbs, right? In auxiliary verbs, helping verbs are very easy. Modals, okay? Modals are really important and also transitive and intransitive are really important. Okay, so please pay more concentration while I'm teaching about transitive, intransitive, and these modals. All right, shall we move to the next slide? Yeah, correct, Simran. Swim. All right, let's engage in cognition. What do you mean by cognition? What do you mean by cognition? A new word for you in case if you don't know. The process of acquiring or understanding or knowing something, all right? The process of acquiring knowledge or knowing something. So I'm telling you, let us engage in cognition. Let us try to understand what these are. I mean, what these verbs are, all right? So first of all, we have action verbs. What are action verbs? A verb that expresses action. For example, to eat, to jump. Leave this to eat, jump, kick, punch, okay, blow. All right, all these are my actions. So, example, Varun reached school at 8 a.m. So, if this is my sentence, where is the action? Reaching, okay? This is my action. So, since this verb is an action, okay, I can call it as my action verb. That's it. Now, look at the second statement. The little girl ran to her mother the moment she saw her. So, the little girl ran, an action, to her mother the moment when she saw her. Again, see, she saw her. Seeing, okay, to open your eyes and then look, watch, okay, is an action. Let us take the gift which was given to us. Let us take. Taking is an action which was given to us. Again, see, giving, to give someone is an action. All right. Varun is singing the most recent song of Shakira. Who's Shakira? A famous European singer. All right. Gerard Pique's wife. Okay. Let us not get there. Okay. Please stick to this one. Varun is singing the most recent song. Here, singing is an action. I wrote a letter to my wife. Wrote. Writing is an action. So whenever a verb is giving an action or whenever a verb is talking about an action, we can directly call them as my action verbs. Very simple. There is nothing to understand over here. Simply those words which are depicting or showing any action, we can call it as my action verbs or simply just call them as verbs. Shall we move to the next one? Yeah. Few examples of action. See? To run, to share, jump, buy, sing, travel, play, write, call, try. All these are actions, right? Kuch kharidna hai, to buy something, action. Okay? Jump, share, kuch share karna hai. All right? Sit, keep, tere paas rakh lo. Okay? See, keep, drink, speak, teach, dance, move, cook, test. Okay? I am testing you. Or else let me test if the light is working or not. All right. Testing is an action. Clear. Okay. For example, if I have too many objects placed here. All right. So to clear everything is also an action. See, talk, stand, bring. Kuch leke aao. All right. Bring something. Bringing is an action. Chewing, driving, learning, skip. What do you mean by skip? To ignore that and move, or else we have action ones, skipping, all right? Reading, ringing, stitching, all these are my action verbs, all right? I hope you're clear with this one. All right, let us move to the next one. State or stative verbs. We usually call these verbs as stative verbs. What do you mean by stative verbs? Pehle we have seen that what are action verbs, right? What is an action verb? A word, especially a verb, which is talking about an action or which is showing some action, we call it as action verbs. But these stative verbs, they do not show any action, okay? They won't show any action at all. So we call them as stative verbs. For example, I feel hungry. If I'm saying, I feel hungry, here feeling is not an action. I feel hungry, mujhe bhook lag rahe hai. All right? If I'm saying that I feel hungry, feeling is not an action. It is a state of being. All right. So, see, a stative verb is defined as a verb that describes a state, not an action. You have to focus here. Any verb or word which is not talking about an action but involving or talking about a state of being, feeling, learning, okay, understanding, interpreting, comprehending, all these are my state of being. All right. For example, a verb describing a state rather than an activity. Rather than activity means not an activity. Activity, act, or even, such as know. For example, if I'm saying, I know him. Okay, let me clear it. Yeah, see, I know him. Here, first, what is this I? Pronoun him. Again, pronoun. What kind of pronoun are these? First person singular pronoun, third person singular pronoun. All right. What is this know? Know is my verb. But is it an action? No, it is not an action. So if it is not an action, I will call it as my stative verb. If I'm telling that, mujhe pata hai, I know it, all right, or I know. For example, if I'm saying mujhe pata hai, I know. No means it's not an action. It is just a state of being. For these state of being, we call it as stative verbs, all right. See here, want. If I'm saying, I want them. For example, there are many books lying there. If I'm saying, I want them. Here, want is a state of being, not an action. All right. For example, giving is an action. If I'm saying, I will give it. Okay. Here, give is an action. All right. Give, dena hai. Lekin want, chahiye, it is not an action. So for those words which doesn't convey an action, we call stative verbs. All right. For example, see here, the first one. I know what to do with this. All right. I know, it is not an action, stative verb. I understand exactly what you're saying. All right. Or what you say. Understand is not an action. All right. And I do not feel very good. I do not feel. Again, it is an action. I believe in honesty. Believe. Okay. Not an action. If I'm saying, I believe in you, or I believe in honesty, or I believe in God, here, belief is a process. But is it an action? No, it is not an action. For those words which doesn't have any action, and when it falls under verb, I'll call it as stative verbs or state verbs. Clear? Simran, yes sir, all right. RJ 100, my first time class, sir. All right, RJ, welcome to the session. Okay, be interactive. If you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me. Okay, I'll help you with that. Naresh Sharma, Jai Hind, sir. Ji. All right, man, Jai Hind. Okay. So let us summarize everything. Okay. First of all, what are verbs? Jo action. Okay. If you're doing any action, it's someone or something. If it is doing an action, we call it as verb. Only action? No. State of being. For example, I feel happy. Here, feel. I believe in you. Believe. I want this. Want. All these are not my action. So we can call them as state of being. All these state of being and actions are collectively known as my verbs. All right. First, what are action verbs? Action verbs are those words which will directly show you an action. For example, to speak, to jump, to fall, to read. All these are my action. So I call them as action verbs. All right. What is state or stative verbs? I feel pain. If I'm saying I feel pain, feel. It is an state of being, not an action. So I call it as my stative verb. All right. I know it or I know him. If I'm saying I know him, no, it is an state of being. It is not an action. It is a state of being. All right. So let us move to the next slide. Anu Rohul, sir, big fan, sir. All right, man. Thanks. See, differentiation, stative verb and linking verb. In previous class, while teaching adverbs and other things, I told you what are linking verbs. All right. What is the other name of linking verb? I told you in last class. What is the other name of linking verb? It means just copular verbs. The other name of linking verbs are also known as copular verb. All right. Linking and copular, both are same, all right? So what is a stative verb? Any verb which is not showing an action, not an action, all right? Linking verb is also somewhere similar to my stative verb. But what are linking verb? In order to know linking verb, first we have to know what is subject and subject complement, right? I told you in last class already. For example, see, Theodore is smart. Okay, instead of Theodore, just take a normal name, Tarun. Tarun is smart. I'll write it somewhere here. Yeah. Tarun is smart. Okay. Here, Tarun is my subject. Right? Tarun is my subject. Why it is my subject? Because I am talking about Tarun, and Tarun is the core party or entity here. Okay. So Tarun is my subject. And what is the smart? Complement. Subject complement. See? Subject complement. What do you mean by complement? Gives a complete meaning. Complement means nothing. It will complete it. Complete meaning. But don't get confused between these two words. Complement. I here complement. All right. So complement means tarif. Okay. Don't follow this one. It is a different word. Whereas subject complement means anything which is completing or giving a complete meaning of my subject is called as subject complement. For example, Tarun is smart. Here, this smart, the word smart is completing the full sentence. Okay. So I can call this smart as my subject complement. All right. So this is a verb is. Okay. So any verb which is linking the subject and subject complement, I call it as a linking verb. That's it. Okay. I've already told you in the previous class what these linking verbs are. All right. Shika Haldia. Connect to sentence. Exactly. Correct. Smart. All right. Yeah. So a stative verb is a verb that is used to express state a subject in and does not. See, I've already told you. See, for example, do I look good in this dress? Here, look is not an action. I am asking something. Do I look good? Okay. Do you believe me? Believe, look, understand, know, leave. All these are my state of being, not an action. This dish tastes delicious. Okay. Here, taste means like, we are talking about the food's taste. Okay. Here, we are not tasting, no action. If you're taking and then tasting it, then it is an action. If I'm saying apple tastes good, it means that it is a state of being. I'm talking about the quality of the apple. All right. Yeah. Give me a second. I'll be back. Mhm. नो ऑफ करके जाऊँ. Sorry guys, there was a glitch, I believe, some YouTube glitch or some internet issues, I believe. I'm not really sure. Am I audible? Am I audible now? Is everything fine? Let me know. Done. We'll just resume. All right. So what are stative verb? Sorry to repeat, but I'm not really sure where it got stuck and other things and all. So let me repeat it for you. All right. So what is a stative verb? Any verb or a word which is not showing any action. All right. So we call it as a stative verb, a state of being. For example, the dish tastes delicious. Here, to taste is an action. All right. Tasting a food is an action. But then talking about the taste, it is not an action. All right. If I'm saying, I am tasting it, I'm taking and then I'm eating it, tasting it, it is an action. But if I'm telling this dish tastes delicious, means the taste, it means not an action, it is a state of being. To eat, to taste is an action, but then here taste is not an action. All right, so anything which is not talking about an action, we call it as a stative verb here. All right, what do you mean by linking verb? Linking verb will be talking about subject and subject complement. What do you mean by subject complement? Okay, for example, Ram is playing. If I'm saying Ram is playing, it means that Ram is my subject. Why Ram is my subject? Because Ram is the person doing an action and we are talking about this person, a core person. All right, so Ram will be my subject, whereas playing, okay, if I'm saying playing football, so this football will be my subject complement. Or else take this normal sentence. Theodore is smart. All right. Instead of Theodore, same. Tarun. If you're using Tarun is smart. Here, Tarun is my subject. And then smart is my subject complement. Why smart is subject complement? Because subject complement means it will give a complete meaning about the subject. It will do a complete part or it will give the completion of the subject. Tarun is smart. So any verb, this is a verb. Any verb which is talking about subject and subject complement, any verb which is linking subject and subject's complement, we call it as a linking verb. What is the other name of linking verb? The other name of linking verb is copula verb. All right. Welcome back, Simran. Welcome back, students. Yeah. Sir, his video got stuck by network call. No. Yeah, no. There was a glitch, man. Now it is fine. All right. So now read this one. Many verbs can be classed as both linking verbs and stative verbs. All right. For example, taste, sound, smell, feel, look. How? Let me take this word look. You look beautiful. Here, look is my verb. All right. You look beautiful means, am I look? Is there anything we are doing an action? No, I'm talking how she is looking or he is looking. You look beautiful. Here, look is not an action. All right. It is the quality we are stating about. So I call this look as my state of being. So this can be my stative verb. But what is the rule about linking verb? Subject and subject complement, right? See, you is my subject and beautiful is my subject complement. Why subject complement? You look beautiful. Beautiful is completing the meaning. It is completing the purpose of the subject. So anything which is relating subject and subject complement, I will call it as my linking verb. So linking verb and stative verbs are almost having similar qualities, but linking verbs are different and stative verbs are different. Why? Stative verbs just do not show any action, whereas linking verb will combine or relate your subject and subject's complement. That's it. All right. So students, do you have any doubts so far? No, right? All right. So what are main or lexical verbs? All right. This is another type, main or lexical verbs. Let us discuss what these main or lexical verbs. Main verbs are also called as lexical verbs or principal verbs. All right. दूसरा नाम है lexical, ये principal. All right. They are primary verbs in a sentence and convey core action. Okay. For example, I will eat it. I will eat it. Here, eat is the core action. All right. And will is just a helping verb, or I can call it as my modal. All right. So the core action is called as my main verb. For example, I am going out. If there is a sentence, I am going out, what is the action here? Going is my main action. Am is my helping verb. All right. Most sentence have only one main verb. For example, I play football. If I'm saying I play football, here play is my main verb, main action. All right. And look at most sentences have only one main verb. How many verbs are there and how many main verbs are there? There is only one main verb here. All right. So what are auxiliary verbs or helping verbs? So we have to classify verbs into two, right? We have seen already. Verbs. How can I classify? Main verb and a helping verb. What is the other name of this helping verb? Other name of helping verb is auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb, ये helping verb. दोनों same है, okay? So if I'm saying auxiliary verb or helping verb, it means both are same, okay? Just the different name. For example, in this sentence, she is eating lunch. Now decode this sentence. She is eating. Here is it a core action? Is this a core action? No, it is not a core action. Where is the core action? Eating. Eating is the core action. All right. So what is this? Is just a helping verb, or I can call it as my auxiliary verb. That's it. All right. Shahil Khan, correct? Auxiliary or helping verb. All right. So eating is my core action. Is my helping verb. So for core action, I will call it as main verb. lexical verb or principal verb. All right. Just a helping verb or a auxiliary verb will not have any core action or main action. It is just a support or just a subordinate or just a assist. You can remember it as just that. Clear? Yeah, we have completed stative, linking, and then main or lexical verbs. Let us move to another kind of verbs. First of all, try to understand the difference between main verbs and helping verbs. She is singing a beautiful song. Singing is my main action. Is will be my helping verb or auxiliary verb. See, they were playing soccer. What do you mean by soccer? Soccer matlab football, all right? They were playing soccer in the park. Playing is my main verb. And where is my auxiliary or helping verb? So, he has completed his homework. Completed, complete, main verb, action, main verb. Has is my auxiliary or helping verb. All right. She is singing a beautiful song. Singing is the main. All right. So this is how you have to classify and then understand it. Shahil, eating. Correct, man. Correct. You're correct. Shahil Khan Malwan. Correct. We will go to the movies tonight. We will go. Going. Go is my main. Whereas will is just a modal or auxiliary. It comes under auxiliary or helping verbs. See, I am reading an interesting book. Try to identify the main verb here. I am reading an interesting book. Reading is my main verb. Am is a helping verb. They have been studying. Studying is my main. Why? It is the core action. Have been is just a helping verb. She will bake a delicious cake. Bake means like, making a cake. The process of making a cake, we call it as bake. All right. Bake is my main verb. Will is just a helping or modal. He is watching, main, auxiliary. Visited, main, auxiliary. We can swim, main, auxiliary. Now I believe that you know how to differentiate between a main verb and a helping verb. All right. Simran Kaur, reading, bake. Correct, Simran. Correct, Shahil. Correct, correct. You're right. You both are right. All right. Now we have understood what are stative verbs. What are stative verbs? Any verb which is not showing an action but talking about a state of being, feel, want, and then understand, know. All these are my stative verbs. All right. What are linking verbs? If there is a subject and if there is a subject complement, and this linking verb will try to link all these two. All right. For example, subject, subject complement. Linking verb will just try to link these two. All right. For example, he is playing, or else leave that one. Try to understand this one. She is beautiful. If I'm saying she is beautiful, beautiful is the completion of the subject. She is my subject. Is my verb. Beautiful is my subject complement. Subject and subject complement. This linking verb will just link subject and subject complement. So we know what are stative verbs, we know what are action verbs, we know what are linking or copular verbs as well. And also now we have understood how to differentiate between main verb and a helping verb or auxiliary verbs. The different name of helping verb is also known as auxiliary verb. That's it. All right, shall we move to the next slide? All right, yeah. Now, clarification of verbs. I told you already, main verbs. In main verbs, we have transitive and intransitive. Under auxiliary, you have to pay attention to modals. That's it. All right. So, what are these transitive verbs and intransitive verbs? I will teach you right now. First, transitive verbs. All right. There is a sentence or a statement. He is playing chess. All right. Here, he is my subject. Playing is an action. Okay. This subject is performing an action. He is playing. All right. He is playing. This subject is performing an action. He is my subject. Playing is an action. Who is receiving this action? He is playing what? He is playing what? Who is receiving it? Chess. He is playing chess. So this chess will be my object. All right. Now you don't have to get a clarification about direct objects and indirect objects and all. We'll be discussing it later. But just try to understand it as an object. All right. He is playing chess. He will be my subject. Playing is an action and chess is an object. So transitive verbs, I can say it as they will always have a subject and a direct object. What do you mean by direct object? If you're directly asking a question like what, whom, okay, if it is answering, we call it as a direct object. But for now, just simply remember it as just an object. No need to get into indirect and direct objects now. So what are transitive verbs? Transitive verbs are those verbs, okay, which will have a subject in a sentence and it will also have a direct object or just an object in the sentence. For example, he is playing chess. He is my subject. Playing is the action. Who is receiving the action? What is he playing? He's playing chess. So chess will be my object. So any verb which is having a subject, any statement which is having a subject and direct object, we can call the verb as transitive verbs. All right. So what are intransitive verbs then, sir? Intransitive verb means they do not have any objects. Clear? Transitive means subject and there will be an object, whereas intransitive means they do not have any object. For example, birds fly. He sleeps. All right. Birds is my subject. Fly is an action. So I can call it as my verb. All right. But there is no object here. So such statement, we call it as intransitive verbs. All right. Or there is no object in the sentence. So this fly, I can call it as an intransitive verb. Why? Because there is no object. All right. See, so transitive verbs, intransitive verbs. What are the difference? Transitive verbs will have a subject and also they will be attached with an object. All right. And what kind of object? To be very precise, it is a direct object. And what are intransitive verbs? Intransitive verbs are those verbs which do not have any object. See here, birds fly. He sleeps. He is my subject. Okay. Sleeps is an action. So I can call it as my verb, but there is no object here. He sleeps. Okay. For example, if I'm saying he sleeps on a bed, then bed will be my object. But since there is no object here, I call this sleeps as my intransitive verb. All right. Done. So see here, transitive verbs. Now let us look at it in detail. Transitive verbs require a direct object to complete their meaning in a sentence. All right. For example, he kicked the ball. He is my subject. Kicked is my action or verb. Ball. Who is receiving this action? The ball. I will call it as an object. To be precise, direct object. That's it. All right. See, they are action verbs that are done to someone or something. See, kick, read, painted, all these are my actions. All right. For example, she ate the cake. She, subject, ate is my action and cake is the object. Why? Because it is being eaten. Okay. It's been eaten. It's been ate by her. All right. So she ate the cake. Cake is my object. Since this is having a subject and object, I can call this ate as my transitive verb. All right. For example, see here. He sleeps. Subject, verb. There is no object. So it cannot be my transitive verb. She laughed. Subject, action or verb, and there is no object. So these are all my intransitive verbs, okay, because they don't have an object. So these cannot be called as my transitive verbs. Why? Because transitive verbs will require a subject and a object. What kind of object? Direct object. That's it. Is it clear? Simran, Shahil, RJ100, Shika, Anu, Naresh. Is it clear for you guys? All right. See here. They read the book. They, subject, read action. The book is the object. I, subject, painted action. The picture is the object. So anything which is having a subject and object, and here this verb we call it as transitive verb. Now let us discuss what are intransitive verbs. All right. Yeah. Intransitive verbs, as I told you earlier, they do not require a direct object to complete their meaning. For example, the sun, subject, rises is my verb. Rises, action, right? The sun rises, but there is no object. So I can call it as my intransitive verb. They arrived. They, subject, arrived is an action verb. But since there is no object, I will call it as my intransitive. The flowers, subject, bloom, verb. Why? Blooming means it's an action. All right. In spring. Okay. The flowers bloom in spring. Okay. But then I'm not being told that there is a direct object here. The flowers bloom in spring. But where do they bloom? Okay. What do they bloom? There is no direct answer for this one. So I still call it as my intransitive verb. All right. So there is no object here. The children played happily. The children played. Played is my verb. And happily is just an adverb. All right. There is no object here. The children played happily with a basketball. If there is a thing, direct object like basketball, then I can call it as my transitive verb. But since there is no object here, I'm calling it as my intransitive verb. They danced all night. The river flows steadily. All right. I hope you have understood what are transitive and intransitive verbs. Okay. Ganeeth sir kicked me out of the class. Here, kicked out is a transitive verb. See here. For example, if there is a thing, okay, he kicked me out of the class. Subject, kicked out of the class, object, transitive. Clear? But why will I even kick you out of the class? I'll politely ask you to leave the class. Got it? All right, Simran. Clear. All right then. Now, what are modal verbs? Okay. You have to understand what are modal verbs. Okay. I'll specially dedicate a separate class for teaching what are modals or modal verbs. Okay. So that you will get everything in detail and precision. Right now, let us just look at the basics. Modal verbs, also known as modal auxiliary verbs or simply just modals. All right. They have a special group of, they are a special group of auxiliary verbs in English. All right. What are these modal verbs? What are the examples, sir? Will, would, could, should. Okay. All these are my modals. Must, may, might, ought to. All these are my modals. All right. See, will, would, may, must, might, can, could, should, shall, ought to. All these are my modals. For example, how to understand modals? First of all, these modals, we know what are verbs, right? And these verbs are categorized into two. One is my main verb. Under main verb, we have transitive verb and then we have intransitive verb. But under this section, auxiliary verb, we have auxiliary or helping verb. Under this auxiliary or helping verb, we have modals. Okay. So what are these modals? These modals, okay, like will, must, and might, they have their own meaning. For example, if I'm saying should means it is a suggestion or recommendation. For example, you should read this book. If I'm saying you should read this book, let me write it down. If there is a statement, you should read this book. Here, you is my pronoun, should read. Read is my main verb, right? And this book, leave it. It's an object. You should read this book. Here, should is my auxiliary. And under auxiliary, it is a modal. And since I told you, modals, they have their own meaning. What meaning here should is having? Should means suggestion or recommendation. Okay, it means that I'm just suggesting. If I'm saying you must read this book, okay, if I'm saying you must read this book, then it means must means it is an obligation. 100% you have to do it, no other choice. See, should means just a recommendation or suggestion, whereas must means it is an obligation, it is a necessary thing, it is compulsion. All right, so these modals will have their own meaning. So in order to know the meaning of each and every modal, like, I'll spend a separate class for you, so that in that class we'll be viewing all about the modals. All right, for example, what is the difference between may and then might? Okay, and what is the difference between must and then should, can and then could? All right, so these are all your modals. See, they are used to express various shades of meaning, such as necessity, possibility, permission, ability, probability, obligation. Okay, for example, if there are two statements like this, all right, yeah, in case if there are two statements like this, can I ride this bike and may I ride this bike? Here, can means it is primarily used to show the ability. If someone is asking, can I ride this bike, matlab, मैं ये ride कर सकता हूँ है क्या? Do I have the ability to ride this? If someone is using can, it means that especially we are talking about the ability. Can I ride this bike? Do I have the ability to ride this bike? That is the meaning of this sentence or this question. If I'm asking, may I ride this bike? Here, may means just seeking permission. All right, may means seeking permission. So can is used for ability, may is used for permission. So can means you're not sure whether you have the ability to ride the bike or not, whereas may means you're just simply asking a permission to ride the bike. That's it. So for every modal, we have different meanings and other categorization. I have a separate class for that, so that we'll catch up everything there. All right. Is it clear for everyone? Are you guys following it? Sure? All right. So what are gerunds? Okay, finally we'll conclude with gerunds. Okay, what are gerunds? Sir, in order to know gerunds, you have to have a clarity about noun and then verb. Okay, so what are verbs? Verbs are actions or state of being. All right, whereas what is a noun? Noun are my naming words, right? I told you already. So what are gerunds? Gerunds are nothing but if you're adding a verb plus ing. What is a verb? Play is my verb, right? Action, ing. Okay. And then if it is acting like a noun, then I will call it as a gerund. For example, if I'm saying, I like swimming. Here, like is my verb. What verb? Stative. Because like is not a action. I is my pronoun. Like is my verb, stative verb. Swimming. Swimming is a gerund. Why, sir? Why it is a gerund? If you ask me why, see, swim means verb. We are adding ing to it. And then it is acting like a noun. Why? I like swimming. In this sentence, are you swimming? For example, if I'm saying, I like swimming. Are you swimming? No. You're liking. You're talking about the way you feel about swimming. So here, swimming is considered as a noun. All right. It is like a noun. But then we call it as a gerund because it is a verb plus ing and it is acting like a noun. Okay, the process of swimming. If I say I like swimming, I like the process of swimming, like, the way I enjoy with the water. So it is a gerund. To be more precise, smoking is injurious to health. If someone is telling smoking is injurious to health, are we smoking? Or is the person smoking? Is anyone smoking here? No, it is just an advice, right? So smoking is let me put it this way. Smoke plus ing is equal to smoking. All right. And this is a process, right? Process of putting the cigarette in your mouth and then inhaling and exhaling, right? So we are talking about the process. We are not smoking. Smoking is injurious to health. So it is a verb attached with ing and acting like a noun. See, I like reading storybooks here. Like is my verb. Reading is not my verb because we are talking about the process of reading. I like the process of reading. So here we are not reading anything. So it is not my verb. Rather, I call it as a gerund. All right. Is it clear, Shahil, Simran, and everyone? What are gerunds? All right. See, again, if I'm saying reading is a great way to relax, okay, reading is a great way means here reading is not an action. We are talking about the process of reading, taking a book and then opening it. I'm telling that I like it. All right. See, reading is a great way to relax. I'm talking about what kind of way it is. It is a great way. So, read plus ing, all right, and it is acting like a noun. Why? Because this process we have named it as reading, right? What is a noun? Naming something. Smoking, inhaling and exhaling cigarette, swimming, moving your arms and legs against the water current and then going. So these are all process, all right? So reading is a process, and then since it is a verb plus ing and acting like a noun, I will call it as my gerund. She enjoys dancing in the rain. Now focus here. She enjoys dancing in the rain. Try to identify the action here. Please don't tell me dancing is an action. Is she performing an action? No. We are talking about enjoyment. Okay. This is a verb here. She enjoys. Okay. Verb. She enjoys dancing means she's talking about the way she's going to dance or the way she loves dancing in the rain. So this dancing is gerund. Why? Dance. To dance. All right. Dance plus ing, and the whole process we have named it as dancing. So it is acting like my noun. Running helps me stay fit. Here helps is my verb. Where running, run plus ing, it is my gerund. Cooking can be a creative outlet. Cooking. Cook plus ing, and we are naming this whole process, and so it is becoming like a noun or acting like a noun. So any verb attached with ing, and then if it is acting like a noun, I call it as my gerund. That's it. I hope you have understood. All right, clear? Yes, sir. All right, man. So that's it. Once again, thank you so much for listening and watching the entire video. Now let us summarize and recap everything. What are verbs? Verbs are those words which will be showing or demonstrating a particular action or a state of being. Action. What are the examples of action? To teach, talk, jump, write. All these are actions, okay? What are state of being? Feel, leave, want, and then understand, know. All these are my state of being, okay? And then we have different types of verbs, right? First, action verbs. What are action verbs? Any verb which is directly talking about an action, we call it as an action verb, right? What are stative or state verbs? It means that any verb which is not showing any action, I call it as my stative verb. For example, I feel happy. Here, feel is not an action, okay? It is a state of being. So I call it as my stative verb. And what do you mean by transitive verb? Transitive verb means those verbs which are having subject and an object. Those subject and object, we call it as transitive. What kind of object? Direct object. All right. What are intransitive verbs? There will be a subject, there will be a verb, but there won't be any object. Intransitive verbs. And what are linking or copular verbs? A verb which is linking my subject and subject's complement, I call it as my linking verb. All right. And what are helping or auxiliary verbs? Verbs, we have two types. Main, the core actions, we call it as lexical, principal, or main verbs. And what do you mean by the helping verb, which is just assisting this main verb to function properly? Okay. I am walking. Walking is the main process. I am. This am is my helping verb. Under helping verb, we have modals. What are modals? Modals means nothing but those verbs which will have their own meaning. For example, may, might, should, could, can, will, would, ought to. All these are my modals. All right. So thank you so much for listening and watching to this session. I hope you have understood everything. Yes, Simran. Thank you. All right. So my name is Ganeeth Kumar. Okay. I'll be teaching you English over here. And if you have any kind of doubts or anything, please comment during online session, because if you're commenting offline, like, I won't be able to clarify your doubts, right? So I'm asking you to join the live whenever it is on live. Please join and then try to interact and then get your doubts clarified. Okay. And please do not forget to like or comment anything about the video which you're feeling like. All right. Thank you so much, man. See you in the next class. All the best. Okay. Since there is a guy called Praveen and he's asking, he has a doubt. What is your doubt, Praveen? What is your doubt? I'm still waiting for your doubt. Hello, sir. I have a doubt, sir. All right. You don't have any doubt, or you still processing or thinking, or do you have any doubts in framing a doubt? What it is, man? If you would have doubt, like if you have any doubts, you could have posted, right? Yes, man. What is your doubt? Except, sir, say something, man. What is your doubt? Can I meet you, sir? Okay, this doubt is not really relevant to the subject. All right. Of course, you can contact the management and then we can have a discussion in person. All right. Thank you so much. We are ending the session.